Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Jen Sugarmeyer, your host of Mindset in the Morning, and we are here live 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. But because this is YouTube, you can watch whenever you would like. Good morning, good afternoon. I knew that was going to happen. I didn't catch it in time. Host of Mindset in the Morning, and we are here. Okay. All right. A little bit of feedback. If I don't minimize the screen immediately, it's like I start talking in surround sound. So that's what that was. Okay. So sorry about that. But we are here live 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, talking all things mindset, because when you understand how to navigate the mind, then you are able to face the day in the driver's seat of your life. You're able to understand what some of the plays are going to be. And so when the plays happen, and by plays, I mean when you turn on the news, when you go into the office, when you come home, when you have your children's PTA meeting, when your friends come over, when all of these things are happening and something out of the norm happens, or when you're around negative energy, or when things are going on that you think, oh my gosh, this again, why this, why me, that you are able and prepared for life. That's it. That's what this is all about. So mindset in the morning. If you've not yet already subscribed to the channel, I would love if you would subscribe, because that actually helps the algorithm to grow and reach other people. And there's somebody out there that needs to hear about expectations, because we're going to be talking more about expectations today. Yesterday, we talked about expectations that others have of you and how it doesn't always feel all that great when people have them. And today we're going to be talking about expectations that you have of other people. And this is actually a really good leadership discussion. If you are a leader, which you are in some capacity, you are a leader, whether it is of a team, your family, or just you're a leader in your own life. So this is a message that you need to hear. So by hitting that subscribe button and that like button, somebody else is going to be able to hear this as well. So let's rock and roll. All right. Expectations. So we talked yesterday about how it doesn't feel good when people place these expectations on us. So I want you to think about that and how that feels when somebody has maybe unrealistic expectations. And they happen all the time. And it's so easy for us to get caught into this mode of, oh, I expect these from these people and they've got expectations on you. And maybe you're in the office and your boss has certain expectations, or maybe your friends have certain expectations that you're always going to show up on time, or that you're going to be there for all of their parties, and you're going to always bring a gift, and you're always going to, I mean, we just, oh, well, if I host a party, that means that everybody should bring a dish, or they should bring a bottle of wine. That's what we expect of our guests. Or, we expect that people are going to borrow the car and return it with the same amount of gas that it had. We expect certain things. We have expectations everywhere we look. But the truth is, we're all individual people. And so yeah, you might think that it's appropriate to bring a bottle of wine when you go to, a party as a nice hostess gift for the host. But some people in other cultures, look, I've been to some parties and we were all supposed to bring food, and a guy brought donuts. Like he brought a 12-pack of donuts. 12-pack? Is that what you call them? A dozen donuts. He brought a dozen donuts. And it was, he's not from this country. And so we kind of laughed about it. We chuckled a little bit, because I've never been to, I think it was like, I don't remember what kind of party it was. It was just, a get together and eat kind of potluck thing. But, outside of breakfast, you don't normally like roll up with some Dunkin' Donuts. But he did. And I also remember that somebody came to a party one time. I have this cat hair on my nose and I cannot get it off. And I also remember being at a party and somebody brought bananas. They brought a bunch of bananas. And so maybe 8, 12, 15, I don't know how many it was, but it was just a very bizarre thing. But we as individuals get let down when we have expectations. So we're going to talk today about having expectations on other people, because it doesn't feel good for those expectations. We talked about it yesterday. It doesn't feel good for people to have those expectations on us. Let's just talk about it. You tell me what it looks like And then we meet in the middle and go from there. So that's ultimately where we're driving for is communication. So let's start down this path of having expectations of others. So first and foremost, you have to have an awareness that you are placing expectations on other people. So this could be your partner, it could be your kids, it could be people at the office. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that expectations are bad. And we talked about this yesterday. We've got expectations in the office place because we've got deadlines. I expect you to be on time. I expect you to work 40 hours. I expect you, there's just certain things, to get along and work with your office mates. And there's just certain things that, yeah, those are expectations. But we can also say, well, I expect you to be in the office at 8 a.m. sharp. And if it's a, full-time employment, not full-time, if you're a salaried employee and you don't actually have to be there at 8 o'clock, that's just how you think as the boss, you think everybody should be there at 8 o'clock. That might not work for everybody. So that expectation may be unreasonable. You may have an expectation that people should figure out on the weekend when they should get their dentist appointment or when they should go to their doctor appointment, because you can't take time off work to go do those things. That's your own expectation. But the truth is, people might actually need a little bit of time during the week, and they'll make it up in the evening, but they may need the time because dentist hours are usually the same as office hours. If you have a standard corporate American job and you work 9 to 5, yeah, same as the dentist. They might not have weekend or after hours. So for us to have these expectations, we need to first realize that they're happening. We have to acknowledge ourselves and say, wow, I guess I do have these expectations on people. And we also have to realize, as we talked about yesterday, and how it doesn't feel good for people to have expectations on us. Like, you don't even know me. You don't know what I can do or not do. And you've got all these expectations of the things that I can do or can't do. And we're all individual people. Well, guess what? Same is true for you. If you have expectations of other people, then yeah, you're not that other person. So are you projecting your own thoughts, your own ideas and ideologies onto that other person? Well, I'm in the office at 8 a.m. So surely you should be in the office by 8 a.m., right? So we have to have an awareness. Are we having expectations? Do we have expectations of other people? We have to realize that we aren't that other person. And you have to get honest with yourself if you are projecting yourself. So if you're in the office at 8 a.m. and you expect all of your coworkers to be in the office at 8 a.m., they may have kids. They may have kids that, go into daycare or go into the school, but school may be closed for that day. There could be some reason that parent cannot figure out how to get into the office at 8 a.m., maybe by 9 a.m. when the babysitter can come over, but not by 8. You see, there are constantly circumstances that are happening with people. And if we have this rigid box of these are the rules, it's going to be hard for people to even want to work for you. We need rules. We need expectations. But are we being too rigid? So if it works one way for you, is that going to fit for somebody else? And is that going to fit for them at all times? So we have to find a balance when we're managing people, when we're dealing with other people, that, hey, life happens. Every single person that you look at, it doesn't matter if you manage them or not, every single person that you're dealing with is dealing with something. And there is something heavy that's going on. It could be the person's finances. It could be the person's relationship. It could be the person's family. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be an illness they just got diagnosed with. It could just be the pressures and the stress of having children that you're raising. There are so many things that are happening in life. And when we have these really, really rigid rules, it can feel polarizing because they want to fit, but they've got these things that they're trying to manage. And how do they fit that into this box that you've created? You have to be here at 8:00. Yeah, well, my wife just got diagnosed with cancer and I have to get her to her cancer treatment. So how are we going to work with this? So what do you do? Well, first, you need to get to understand the other person. You've got to understand what they are going through. And how do you get to understand? You got to communicate. Have a conversation with, it could be, again, it could be a friend. It could be somebody that you're managing. Just say, hey, I've noticed some things are different. You want to talk about anything? Or, hey, is everything okay? Anything on your mind you want to talk about? Hey, I thought I have this rule that, this unspoken rule or hard rule, that everybody's in the office at the same time. And I've noticed that you keep coming in later. What's going on? You've got to get to know the other person, and you've got to manage to that person. That doesn't mean that everybody has different rules. But look, if you are not willing to have people come in the office outside of a certain time, then you have to be able to take on the risk that people are going to leave if they don't feel that it's a lifestyle or a work environment that's accommodating to them. You have to be willing to accept that risk. And if you say, nope, this is how it is, you come work for me 8 a.m. in the office, then okay. But you're going to lose people. And it's expensive to hire people. And if you have friendships like that, it may be a really good friendship. And are you kind of throwing it to the wayside because you're so rigid in how you want to live your life? Maybe it's your partner and you say, this is how I have to live. Are you being realistic with your expectations and talking to this person and understanding? And are you meeting them in a certain way that works for both of you? Because just as you don't want people to put these expectations on you without asking you what you're good at, what you're not good at, what your schedule looks like, what you want to do, what you need to do. These are all factors that play into who you are. These make up your day-to-day, your wants, your needs, your beliefs, your values. If somebody comes along and says, oh, well, no, I just expect you to do something unethical, well, you're going to have dissonance and you're going to leave. So everybody's going to have different expectations. So then you need to say, hold on, if that's a situation that somebody wants me to do something unethical and I'm not going to, do I go against who I am as a person or do I leave? But you got to have that conversation. You've got to know where the expectations are on both sides and get to know and understand that other person and be reasonable. Really ask yourself, are these reasonable expectations? You've got to pick your battles. And you may like things very controlled. You may come from the military and the military has things laid out. They even tell you how many times you need to chew. I don't know if that's still true, but I remember my dad telling me growing up that he had to chew like 24 times or something like that. And I remember we would sit at dinner and we would try that sometimes. But could you imagine if people went around and told you, hey, you need to chew 24 times and you need to sleep for 7 hours and 21 minutes. And I mean, if your life was just that predictable and laid out for you, that would just feel crazy. But in the military, that may be normal. And that may be where you come from. So you think if that's normal, then certainly that's how it is in real life. You've got to know your surroundings, and that's not real life. Nobody's telling me how many times to chew. You can't even tell people, like, this world is so crazy. I shouldn't say crazy. It's so different that there are kids that you can't call them he or she anymore. It's unbelievable. You have to call them they, or you have to call them butterfly, or you have to call them something different. Like, it's so unbelievable. I can't keep track of it all. I cannot keep track of it all. So could you imagine if somebody with that strict of rules was coming into this millennial generation? They'd be like, yeah, okay, no. And that's what's happening. That's what we're seeing. And a lot of the younger generation, they're starting to speak up for what they need and for what they want. And so these expectations that other people are having on them, they're pushing back. So we have to understand, because this is a whole population that we need to manage. And again, whether it's in your home, or it's a friend, or it's somebody you just come across, or it's somebody that comes and works for you, you've got to understand this new generation. I remember, I used to, when I was a manager, I would have people that were older than me and never took days off, never took sick days. It's been 10 years. I haven't taken one sick day. And they would, kind of be proud of that. And then on the other hand, I would have millennials, and they would, like, their dog would be sick. And so they'd say, oh, I need to stay home. My dog is sick. So how do you manage? So I have to look at, are my expectations reasonable for this new generation? And it doesn't mean that I manage this one person differently than this person, but I have to pick my battles. Is that the battle that I want to face? Or can I get creative in some other way that says, okay, I'm going to be flexible with a work from home policy with my team, or maybe HR sets these in place, however that is. And you say, okay, twice a month, you're able to work from home. You get to pick those days. I know we have a no work from home policy, but I'm going to give you 2 days a month. And if your dog gets sick, then you use one of those. So you find some way to meet in the middle. And yeah, sure. Should HR be putting those together? It's easier, because then there's one policy. Not all teams are looking around at everybody else going, yeah, but they have 5 days a week at home, or whatever. It's easier when it's one policy for the company. But you've got to look at everybody the same. You can't have, there may be some level of circumstantial understanding. Somebody's wife is sick, somebody's husband's sick. There could be these things, but you want to manage evenly and fairly if you're in the work environment. So get to know the person that you're working with, understand where they're at. And remember, you could very well be projecting your own beliefs, and you have to have that honest and real conversation with yourself to say, am I projecting me onto you, that just because I've always done it this way and it takes me this long to do it, that it's going to take you that long to do it, and you're going to do it the same way that I did? I don't know. Is that realistic? It may be. You've been doing whatever you've been doing for so long. Does it make sense that the new person that comes on board, that they're going to, be as fast as you? You got to get honest with yourself. You got to get real. And then you got to choose your battles wisely. There's some things that, okay, maybe you can control that. A lot of things you don't control, and you've got to let them go. Because if you have an expectation and you put it on somebody and they're not able to meet it, what happens? You get disappointed, or you get angry, or you get resentful. So putting expectations out there, it then can translate into other feelings that are negative in nature. And we know negativity just spirals us down the drain in the wrong way. We want to have positivity where we're going up. So that is our talk today on expectations. So I would encourage you, as you go out into the world today, to think about the expectations that you are placing on other people. Have a real and honest conversation with yourself. Are you projecting yourself onto the world? Are you being fair in what you're expecting? Do you know the people? Have you had a chance to chat with them and get to know them, of the people that you're placing these expectations on? Do they even, this is really important, and this is a whole nother discussion, do they even know that there are expectations being placed on them? Because we do that too. That's a whole nother discussion. So go out into the world, think about expectations, think about how you can change and make modifications within your own life so that you can meet in a happy medium, so that everybody feels that their needs are being met and that everybody is being heard. So, all right, I will see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great